Good morning. It's Christopher Taylor up on the hill with Sovereign Harmony Astrology. We're going to do the astrology for the week of July 19th to 25th. So we got a few big things happening this week. We're just coming off that new moon in Cancer last week that asked us to become responsible for processing and feeling the actual emotions we have, also for setting emotional boundaries. And that's going to be very important as we head into this week, as we're crossing a threshold that's really going to set the energy for the next several years, many years ahead, really. So we'll get to that in a second. But first, today on Sunday, the 19th, we have Mars in Gemini, sextiling Saturn in Aries. Okay, so Mars in Gemini, it's kind of flighty when it comes to taking action. It's like, oh, I could act this way, I could do this, I could do that. And that sextile to Saturn in Aries is really saying, hey, let's get that action into focus. Yes, you have a lot of options for how you can approach things, but let's focus it and let's focus it on what is best for ourselves. What makes us most self-responsible? That's Saturn in Aries. Okay, so it's getting in touch with, okay, yes, we have all these options we can do, but which is most suited in alignment with who we are, instead of trying to like respond to the environment, respond to what the information that comes in. That's Gemini as well. There's always new information, so there's always a new solution or a new option, right? And so the Saturn in Aries is really reining that in and saying, hey, let's keep ourselves at the center of the focus as far as why we're taking action. Does it really serve us, or is it just in response to our environment? And it's just asking us to make sure that our actions serve us. And that's important because the Barbault Basket that we talked about last week, so that started last week. It'll be with us all this week and into next week, but it actually tightens up the most here in the next couple of days. On Monday and Tuesday, 20th, 21st, that is when Jupiter is going to form its exact aspects to all three outer planets. That's a sextile to Uranus and Gemini from Jupiter in Leo, and then a trine to Neptune in Aries. And the most intense part of the basket, which is like the rim of the basket, is the opposition from Jupiter in Leo to Pluto in Aquarius. So this all has to do with a threshold step that we're taking, where we're going to look back, say in 2030, 2035, at the summer of 2026 as kind of the turning point, whereas everything before that was, still emerging out of the old paradigm, and this is basically clicking in the new paradigm. And that's that new paradigm with the outer planets, and it's basically with Pluto and Aquarius, we're transforming society at large, okay, based on our authentic individuality rather than some kind of top-down notion. Neptune in Aries is all about bringing our whole selves in, so it's a dissolution of any identities or masks or performances, okay? And then that Uranus in Gemini is bringing information more freely to the people so that it can't be used against us from the top down. And so Jupiter in Leo is aspecting all of that and saying, how can we fully express in the most courageous way who we are as part of this new paradigm, okay? And this Jupiter opposite Pluto, this Jupiter in Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius, this is going to be extra emphasized by the changing of the signs from the moon's nodes. The moon's nodes right now, we have North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo. On next Sunday, the 26th, they actually switch. It'll back into Aquarius and Leo. So it'll be North Node in Aquarius, South Node in Leo. And that'll be with us for about a year and a half till the end of 2027, okay? And what happens here in November, just leaping ahead a little bit, is that Jupiter in Leo will actually conjoin the South Node in Leo. A year later, November 2027, that's when Pluto in Aquarius will join the North Node in Aquarius. Okay, so this opposition between Jupiter and Pluto is the most important part of this Barbault Basket. And these next couple of years, or year and a half really, is when we're going to see this major, the biggest part of the energetic alignment, where Jupiter conjunct the South Node in Leo this November 2026. That's going to be a lot about releasing the performance. Okay, right now, the way things are structured, we have politicians and sports figures and famous people in general, where fame is kind of relegated to the few. In other words, the power is relegated to the few. Power you could think of as the capacity to influence. Who has the capacity to influence? Just a few, with this Leo kind of monarchy-like energy that's associated with Leo. So Jupiter conjunct the South Node this November is about the release of that, releasing the mask, releasing the performance. When we get to next year, November 2027, when Pluto's on the North Node of Aquarius, and again, it all comes back to this Barbault Basket that's perfecting this week. So it ripples out. Okay, it ripples out even further than that when Pluto doesn't leave Aquarius till 2044, and So we can think of that as like the end of this transition, with Barbault Basket just being the support system, the foundation for where we're moving through in the next couple of decades. Okay, but when Pluto conjuncts the North Node in Aquarius, that is when we're embracing authenticity. It is that individual authenticity that creates the greater society of the new paradigm. Okay, so it's that sovereign authenticity. No more mask, no more performance. We're letting that go with the South Node in Leo. And Jupiter, this November 2026, will be the most potent point of that process, or that half of the process. Okay, so big energy that's really with us for a long time. This is not just some momentary thing. We might not even feel it this week, but know that those gates are opening up, that basket is ready to collect who we truly are. Okay, and that way we can consolidate and accumulate who we truly are, so it can be more useful as we move to the future. So also this week we have the Sun entering Leo. I think it's Wednesday, Thursday time frame, and then immediately as it enters Leo, it's going to form a square to Chiron in Taurus. This is something that Jupiter did when Jupiter entered Leo on June 29th. It immediately squared Chiron in Taurus, and so it was just awareness of our perception of worthiness relative to our need to express and be courageous. So it made us aware of that. So there's another round of that awareness of wanting to express, wanting to be courageous, but then kind of feeling the sting of like, ooh, am I really worthy to expand that far? Right? So it's just another rung of that layer. And the last thing that happens this week, which is very important, we've had Mercury retrograde since that same day that Jupiter entered Leo on June 29th. So Mercury turned retrograde in Cancer that day, and it's going to turn direct here on Thursday the 23rd. Okay, so this again was covering the same area of the zodiac in Cancer that the Jupiter retrograde covered from November 2025 until March 2026. And really the whole year that Jupiter was in Cancer from last summer up until recently, this Mercury retrograde is all about reevaluating the emotional growth that came out of that period for us, okay? And so we're at the point of coming to some conclusions here. Now, Mercury won't exit Cancer star until early August, so the first week of August. But until then, we've kind of come to some conclusions, okay? And as that Mercury turns direct in Cancer this week, it's going to be forming a sextile to Venus in Virgo, okay? And so it's as if we've come to some sort of judgments, some conclusions. We've gone deep, okay? We've processed some emotions. We've reevaluated the processing of those emotions. That, last week's new moon was all about setting the boundaries and getting real about that, getting honest about the feelings that we maybe smashed down or pretended weren't there. And so now we're concluding this, and we have the judgment on it. It's like a court case. We've come to our judgment, and the jury's in, essentially, okay? And whatever we process, whatever we realized from this point forward at the end of this week, and it'll take a couple weeks to kind of roll out into early August, but we kind of know where we stand emotionally. We kind of know what we feel, how we feel about things, how we feel about situations, okay? So whether it's something or someone, we're coming to some conclusions about it here at the end of the week. So late week into the weekend, that'll be part of the theme. And it's happening here on the other end, or the other side of the exact aspects of that Barbault basket. So it's part of our future. What we decide here, what we conclude about our emotions is part of our future, okay? So that also means things are going to start moving forward again. So anything that have been stalled in recent weeks with Mercury retrograde, that usually happens, things will start moving forward. And they're going to start moving forward in alignment with the energies of this Barbault basket that is, again, opening up this new paradigm of energy and our role in it. And a big part of our ability to participate in that is to essentially, release our performance, release our mask. That's what's being asked of us over the next year and a half. Release our mask, embrace authenticity, because it's that authenticity which includes the reality of our feelings. That's part of who we are, and that moving forward, and how that can serve and have a capacity to influence, again, power. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Comment below. If you're looking for a personal reading, contact me as well. Other than that, enjoy your Sunday, enjoy your week. It's a big week, and we'll see you next time. Take care.